Right, well here we got a Briggs and Stratton engine Sovereign lawnmower. It is a self-drive model, and the problem with this is, well, let me show you. You prime the engine and then it cuts out. Right, okay then, so here we are, we've got it on the workbench now, so we're going to start stripping it down, and the first thing we're going to take off is the air filter and also the external cover which the recoil lives under. So, but before we do any of that, I like to give them a quick blow down with an air hose just to get rid of any debris that's floating about, because we don't want that going in the fine carburetor, in the fine workings of a carburetor if we don't need it to. So let's get rid of all that first. Right, okay, so I'll start off initially by just removing the air filter, and it can tell me, for example this one, I know someone's had this off because the air filter is actually facing round the wrong way. The pointed end, as you can see, is facing forward. When it doesn't make any difference, but it just lets you know someone's had a look under it. That should be basically on that way, and that pointed, as you see, it fits in the actual cutout on the side of the actual casing there. So initially I can see that someone's had a look at this. Good sign, the air filter is nice and clean. Now that possibly means someone's had a look at it and cleaned it, and there shouldn't be any problem with regards to it sucking in any oil from being tipped up the wrong way. That's a typical sign that these are covered with oil if the lawnmower has been tipped up the wrong way, so I'm quite happy with that. Looking at the actual spring assembly, everything appears to be in order there. The governor springs seem to be in their correct location, although I can see that this has been stretched, that spring, a little bit, possibly to someone to speed the ticker over up, because that is a way that people do speed the tick over up, by putting this under more resistance. So it may possibly be ticking over a bit fast, but we'll come to that as and when we look. You normally find this arm bent up because, as I say, that should increase and decrease the speed. But to keep them running at a constant speed, what some people do is they bend that lug down, and that actually just locks that in the fast position. So that's just something to be aware of. Now if I just press the priming bulb down, you can see that it's shooting petrol through the actual chamber, so we know that we've got petrol going through from the fuel tank. So initially what I'm going to do is just to change this plug, and we'll just try and start it again before we go any further with a brand new plug-in. Again, once you've got these up on the worktop and you are working on them, always be mindful of actually removing the spark plug lead before you do any maintenance on these whatsoever, because technically speaking, if something did happen, and it could turn around and start and cut your hands off. So always make sure that you pull the plug lead off before. So again, I'm just going to undo the plug, and don't forget, you can also tell a lot of the state of the engine by the plug. Now looking at that plug, I've had a little sniff of it. There's plenty of fuel there. It's a little bit black, so what I'm going to do is just change this and put a brand new plug in. And again, on these, plug gap is actual critical. Well, that one's set at 25 thou, so I'm literally going to just screw this in. So I'm just going to pop the air filter back on. Right, let's give it a go. Just give it another prime. Go away, Barney. With the brake up. That's not the problem. So we'll now go to the next stage and investigate the ignition system. Right, so we wasn't quite lucky with this one. As I say, many times when you get starting problems like that, where they run for a bit and then they conk out, I've had it many times where the plugs actually break down. So in this case we was a little bit unlucky that didn't happen. So we're just going to remove the top cover now. Great thing about these Briggs and Stratton motors is that you don't need many tools with them to strip them down. With this one, for example, the main bolts are well, you get two sizes. Some Briggs and Strattons have 3/8 bolts and 1/2 inch, and then you can get some which has got the metric equivalent, which is 10mm and 13mm. So in this case it's the Imperial ones, which are the 3/8 bolts and the 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to undo the cover so that we can actually just get a look at the electronics underneath before I actually strip the carb down. Always good to just remove this cover anyway, because sometimes you get a lot of build-up of debris underneath, and they can suffer from overheating problems if you don't clean them out. So it just gives you a good visual inspection, and for the sake of a couple of bolts you might as well just take it off. So there's 3 3/8 bolts that literally hold this cover on, or they could be, as I said to you, 10mm, depending on what model you've got. There we go. We'll just take that out of the way, and I will just remove the air filter again. And what I'm also going to remove as well at the back is the kill switch cover, which is situated under this cover here. So just make sure that the switch is actually clean underneath here, which there seems to be a lot of grass underneath it, so that could be affecting the actual switch. So I'm just going to blow that switch out. So what I'm also checking is the root of this kill switch cable. In this case this isn't a problem, but I just want to show you this, that this cable sometimes can rub, if it's been routed wrongly, it can rub on the flywheel there, and that can cause it to run for a bit and then suddenly short out against the actual metal of the engine and cut out for no apparent reason. So if you've got an engine which is running but cutting out, you need to check that that cable is not frayed or damaged in any way, and this one obviously isn't. So I'm pretty okay that that's not our problem there. So everything there now looks okay. I'll clean that switch out as you just saw, and I'm also checking the HT lead, because that can actually break down as well. I'm pushing this one on. That doesn't appear to be actually very good. It might be making a poor connection on that, to be honest with you. I don't think that's a very good connection. So that could possibly be our problem as well. So looking at the mechanism here, that all seems to be functioning correctly. There's no stiffness there. The actual magnets, there seems to be a decent enough gap between the flywheel and the actual coil, so I'm quite happy that there's no issue there. That's the only thing that's sort of bothering me at the moment, is how loose that is, that spark plug there. So I may come back to that. So just to show you how simple it is to remove these fuel tanks, again we've undone the back bolt there. There's a bolt at the front here, which in this case is going to be a 3/8. So I'm just going to undo that. And as I say, you'll never know what anybody's ever done to the lawnmowers. So just checking these sort of things just keeps you on the right track if you know what to look for. So I'm just going to check that everything's okay here and make sure we haven't got any other problems. It's all part of a general service basically. Although this one's got a problem, if you service a mower correctly you should actually solve the problem. So I just removed that 13mm bolt there, and that means that you can just lever off and just tickle that out there, and the whole thing comes off in one assembly. So that is your whole carb assembly there that comes off in one go. Now things I'm looking for is this plastic insert there with the O-ring. That's in situ still, so I'm quite happy with that. That's okay. As I said to you, I'm looking for other signs of possible problems. I'm happy with the linkage. I'm happy that there's been no oil entering the carburetor through it being tipped over the wrong way. I'm now happy with the switch there, and I'm happy with the route of the cable for the kill switch. I'm happy with the magneto and the distance between the actual coil and the flywheel. I'm happy with that. The only thing I'm not happy with regards to the ignition circuit is how loose that plug is. That could possibly be our problem. But I will check the carburetor and strip that down and put a new diaphragm and gasket on, just as a matter of course anyway. So that's what I'm going to do now. Now again, before I actually do any work to the carburetor, I like to clean all this down, as you know. I'll remove that gasket and just leave that there. And I get some normally old stale fuel or some white spirit, and I just generally loosen everything off by agitating all around the areas, because we don't want none of this rubbish that's all around here actually getting inside our small fine jets when we do take the carburetor apart. So this just ensures that everything remains clean. So once I've done that, I then give it a blow down. And as you can see there, nice and clean and tidy to work on. So all we've got here now is to take off the 5 screws that surround the carburetor, and I like to do these in a diagonal fashion just so that we don't strain any bit of plastic, because the carburetor is actually made of plastic, so we don't want anything warping. So now once we've got them all undone, literally lift off our top of our carb. Always be careful of that spring under that diaphragm, and these are your the tubes as well for sucking up your petrol. So I'm just going to spray this with carb cleaner. I'm actually going to fit a new diaphragm. That one looks like it's done quite a bit of work to me. It's a bit baggy around this diaphragm there, which isn't really a good sign, so I'm going to be changing this anyway. Okay, so I've blown out all the carburetor and also all the little areas on the actual fuel tank as well, and I'm just going to now apply a brand new gasket and diaphragms. I've placed the strainers back on. This has all been blown out, as I said, cleaned with carb cleaner, so we want this now plonked back on. Again, just try and be careful when you feed that into there. It will move, but as soon as you put your carb on, you can actually look down the holes to line up the diaphragm and gasket, and literally just drop the screws in. Don't tighten anything up yet, because you'll just be jiggling things about before you tighten up. So all the screws have dropped down. I'm just going to just a little jiggle, and then just again do the opposite of what we've done before. Just lightly take the screws down and go diagonally again. I'm happy that they're all seated correctly. Again, I'm not tightening it, I'm just literally nipping them up very, very loosely, just to make sure everything seats down correctly. And if there's any resistance, you know you've possibly got a lining up issue, but they've got leading edges on them screws, so they will drop in and they will start. Right, okay, so we're all down, so literally, and you've got to go mad, because it's only a plastic carburetor, and you want everything to pull down evenly, so you're trying to apply the same tension on every screw, not forcing anything. And that's basically it. That's the carb that's now serviced. Right, okay, there we go, everything's now back together again. We'll give it one more try. I'm basically confident that everything is okay now on this lawnmower. If it still does the same thing, everything points to this not making a good connection. I could have only guaranteed that because I now know that everything else is okay. So let's try it now. smoking a lot obviously, but I'm just going to check the oil level and make sure that it's not been overfilled. But if it has been overfilled, that's obviously possibly pushing oil through into the carburetor. So I don't know whether it's been tipped up in the past and it's just burning up oil that was left in the exhaust. So I'm just going to check the oil and see what the oil level is. Yeah, as I suspected, the oil level comes right up to there. So it's probably sucking in oil through the actual carb. So what I'm going to do is drop the oil level down to within its prescribed limits, and then we'll try it again. Okay, right, so here we go. That's what we pulled out of it. Nearly 200 millilitres of extra oil that was in there. Well, there we go. Try it, just start again. Well, there we go. That was a quick little how-to there on a simple Briggs and Stratton engine sovereign lawnmower. Just a few of the fault-finding things I go through before I know definitely that something is okay and when something is not okay. If I had a spare one, or if it was a customer who was going to pay for this is for a relative by the way, I would possibly put a new cap on there and I'll just make him aware of that in case something does happen in the future. But as far as the actual engine and the carburation is concerned now, we know the carburetion's fine because we've got a brand new gasket and diaphragm in there. We know all the jets are clean because I've blown the jets out with a carb cleaner and an air hose. We know the switch at the back is fine and operating correctly because we've also cleaned that as well. We know that the coil is okay because we've had a look and had a check underneath under there. So basically, if you've got spark and you've got fuel and there's nothing really to go wrong there with the timing, we've made sure that the root of the cable from the kill switch is not damaged so it don't cut out as some of them do. We come across another problem once we started it. As you saw the symptoms of that, heavily smoking while it's running along. I knew exactly what the problem was, and it was overfilled by nearly 200 millilitres of oil. Once we've cured that, we're now back to square one and we've got a full running lawnmower. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that one. Hope it's opened your eyes. If you've got a little problem with your lawnmower, don't be afraid to tackle it. It's pretty straightforward, providing you follow simple procedures. Anyway, see you in the next video. Thanks for now.